What's good, sports fans? Are you ready to elevate your live entertainment experience? Well, let me introduce you to SeatGeek, an amazing platform that connects you to your favorite events while saving you money. With SeatGeek, you can easily find tickets for sports games, concerts, and so much more, all in one place. The interface is user-friendly, making it simple to browse and compare prices. And one of the best features is the interactive seating chart. You can see exactly where you'll be sitting and how much you'll be spending, ensuring you get the best value for your money. But here's the best part. Check this out. By using my promo code, ChalkItUpSports, you can enjoy a one-time $20 discount on your first SeatGeek order. That's right, $20 off your first SeatGeek order. Imagine catching that thrilling game or concert without breaking the bank. It's a win-win situation. Plus, you'll be a part of a community of fans who eat, sleep, and breathe live events just as much as you do. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description to download the SeatGeek app today. And don't forget to use my promo code ChalkItUpSports for a one-time $20 discount on your first SeatGeek order. Get excited. Now let's get back to the show. Yeah. What's good? This is your boy, Tone DeShields the second. You guys are locked in on your dose of Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. Y'all know the vibes. Y'all know the energy. Y'all know where my body be. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Means a lot to me. Goes a long way, right? Without you guys, this channel doesn't move forward, okay? I'll just be talking into the ether. I'll still be doing my sports talk, but hey, man, you guys make it better when you show up and show out. So make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. This thing don't go without you. On top of that, make sure you guys check out the content available on other platforms as well. Not only can you watch the playback, obviously, on YouTube, but you can also watch us on Spotify and listen to us on Spotify. You can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, all right? So take advantage of those other avenues to access the content. And you guys can lock in with me on Instagram and TikTok. On top of that, I'm also on X. So I'm always sharing my opinions everywhere I go. So make sure you guys lock in on the content. So much out there for you guys to take in. So let's keep this ball rolling. Now, today was, I want to say, let's make sure I got this right here. Today was day nine of Eagles training camp. You know, we had some developments. You know, we had some people healthier. We had some people go down a little bit with the injury. But nonetheless, we got some things to talk about. I don't think there's anything significant on the injury front. But obviously, we're going to address all those things. Let's not get it twisted. But before we get too deep into the training camp talk, right? I want to talk to you guys about some news that broke today. Now, it's not really news to us because we know how good this player is, right? We know how well the Philadelphia Eagles have been drafting the past few seasons. But I think it's important to note and give this brother his flowers. Quinyon Mitchell was just named to the NFL Top 100. He was ranked as the 49th best player on the NFL Top 100. So this is based off of votes by his peers. This is not scouts or executives or these mystery coaches, whatever it may be. These are his peers. These are the people who have to deal with Quinyon Mitchell or who've had to deal with Quinyon Mitchell on a weekly basis, not just on the Philadelphia Eagles, but also in the NFL. And he was ranked 49th out of 100, the 49th best player in the NFL, man. And for a guy to be only entering year 2, hasn't even laced up his season 2 cleats yet. For him to be at 49, right? And for Cooper DeJean to be at 60 as second-year players, that's phenomenal. We got to give credit where credit is due, and we have to take stock of where we are right now. I know it's easy to take it for granted. I know it's easy to just believe things are supposed to be what they are. But we've watched these guys week after week after week, play after play, series after series. We've seen them in every situation you could possibly see them in. We've seen them in training camp. We've seen them in preseason games. We've seen them in regular season games, the postseason, the Super Bowl. We've seen these guys play in every single situation you could possibly think of. Their first seasons, their rookie seasons, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, they got hit with the kitchen sink. Not just by their opponents, but Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio put a lot on these guys' plates year 1. Year 1, Quinyon Mitchell was asked to be the guy. Cooper DeJean, year 1, asked to come in and transform this defense. You got to give credit where credit is due when it comes to Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Draft classes don't come along like this very often. The closest thing the Philadelphia Eagles have ever had to something like this probably dates back to the Alito Shepherd Sheldon Brown draft. I believe that was 2000. What draft was that? That was 2002. The 2002 NFL draft. Eagles haven't drafted a cornerback tandem like Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean since then. Alito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown were phenomenal. And then, the Eagles had Troy Vincent, right? So, and now I'm taking it way back. Nonetheless, you gotta acknowledge what you're seeing, and you gotta put respect in these brothers' names. These guys are making a name for themselves in the NFL. Their peers are noticing it, and I don't care what any opposing fan base says. He only can play zone. He doesn't press. Quinyon Mitchell is on film doing everything. He's on film playing on the ball, at pressing. He's on film playing off the ball. He's on film getting tested deep, playing great coverage. Another thing that makes Quinyon Mitchell so good is that he doesn't give up much after the catch, right? Quinyon Mitchell allowed an average of 1.5 yards after the catch as the nearest defender in coverage. 1.5 yards after the catch. Essentially, you catch that ball near Quinyon Mitchell, you might as well purchase some real estate right there because you ain't going nowhere else. You might as well get comfortable, pack a sleeping bag. You're not going nowhere else. Wherever you catch that ball, you staying there. Simple as that. Allowing an average of 1.5 yards after the catch as the nearest defender is remarkable, and that was the fewest by any player with at least 30 targets. Patrick Surtain II was the next closest with 1.9 yards allowed after the catch. So he's already in elite company. On top of that, Quinyon Mitchell was ranked. Quinyon Mitchell was ranked in the top 10 of ESPN's top 10 cornerback rankings. And this is based off of executive scouts, coaches. Quinyon Mitchell was ranked ninth on the top 10 cornerback list. And I think this list was compiled by ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, right? And look, as great as Quinyon Mitchell was in year 1, he had a hard time snagging some INTs during his rookie season. There were plenty of opportunities that he had, right? Plenty of opportunities that he had to get some interceptions, but the ball didn't necessarily bounce his way, or maybe he dropped it, whatever it may be. But regardless, when the playoffs came, he turned it up a notch. When the playoffs came, Quinyon Mitchell was targeted 21 times, allowed 10 catches, only allowed 54 receiving yards, gave up 1 touchdown, snagged 2 interceptions, and allowed a 30.6 passer rating when targeted, and allowed a negative 11.5 completion percentage over expected, and a negative 14.7 coverage EPA. So he's been like he was locked down in the regular season and he was locked down in the playoffs. His regular season stats: played in 16 games, 75 targets, 41 completions, allowed a 54.7 completion percentage, only gave up 472 receiving yards, which is an average of 29.5 yards per game. Snagged 12 pass breakups, gave up 3 TDs, allowed an 87.2 passer rating. And this is all via profootballreference.com. So Quinyon Mitchell has been a godsend for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's not only been one of the best players on the Eagles, he's been one of the best corners in the NFC. He's been one of the best corners in the NFL. And frankly, he's the best cornerback in the NFC East. I stand on that. I don't care what the Commanders did getting Marshawn Lattimore. I don't care who they think Saint Skrill is, right? Trevon Diggs hasn't been healthy the past couple seasons, past year and a half, whatever it may be, right? There's not a corner in the NFC. There's not a corner in the NFC East in particular better than Quinyon Mitchell. There's not a corner in the NFC East that's better than Cooper DeJean. I stand on that. So shout out to Quinyon Mitchell. You know, he's routinely taking the best matchup every single game. Routinely taking on the best matchup. You know, he's battled with Terry McLaurin. I would say he's 2 for 3 in that battle. He's 2 out of 3. He's won 2 out of the 3 matchups between him and Scary Terry. I think in all 3 of their matchups, he's only allowed 3 catches between those 3 games for Terry McLaurin. So Quinyon Mitchell, he's the best corner in the NFC East. Just that simple. And honestly, I feel comfortable saying he's one of the best corners in the NFC. I feel very comfortable saying that. I feel very comfortable saying Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean are one of the best corners in the NFC. Now, once you start getting to the AFC, you got Sauce Gardner, you got Patrick Surtain, right? You got some talented guys over there. You got Christian Gonzalez. You know, in the NFC, you got Devin Witherspoon, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. You got Lattimore. Back again over in the AFC, they got Jalen Ramsey over there. You feel what I'm saying? I think the NFC also has Jalen Johnson, right? Is that my man's name? Is that my man's name? Jalen Johnson plays for the Bears. Make sure I got this right here. Yeah, Jalen Johnson plays for the Bears. He's up there. J.C. Horn for the Panthers. When he's healthy, he's up there. But I'm betting on Quinyon Mitchell. You know, the AFC, again, they got Stingley over there. They got Surtain, Sauce Gardner, Christian Gonzalez, Trent McDuffie over there, Denzel Ward. There's some talented corners in the AFC. Don't get it twisted. But in the NFC, you got a long way to go. You got a long way to go before you find a corner that's definitively better than Quinyon Mitchell. You got a long way to go. Again, the guy with the Bears, Jalen Johnson, he's nice. He's like that. But I like the trajectory Quinyon Mitchell's on. I really do. All right. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Appreciate the love. Let's keep this ball rolling here. You guys are tuned in to Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. If you're new to the show, I'm your humble host, Tone DeShields II. Glad that you're here. Hopefully you stay for a long time and not just here for a good time. You feel me? Let's keep this thing going. So, you know, like I said, not only Quinyon Mitchell made the top 100 at number 49, but Cooper DeJean made it at number 60, and Jordan Mailata made it at number 69. So the Philadelphia Eagles are in good shape with their young players, their young veterans, right? I would say Jordan Mailata is like a young veteran. I think Jordan Mailata is maybe entering, but this is Jordan Mailata's maybe 6th season, something like that. Maybe 6th season, but I think this is like his 4th season starting. Make sure I got that right here. Yeah. Jordan Mailata is entering year 6, and this is he's He's going into his 6th season starting because he started a lot of games in 2020. He started 10 games in 2020, played in 15 games. But 2021, he came in as the definitive starter nonetheless. So it depends how you want to look at it. But he has a lot of starts under his belt, regardless. All right. I want to talk to you guys about Vic Fangio's press conference. I've been paying close attention to how Vic Fangio has been speaking lately, and I've just been trying to vet his perspective. I've just been trying to vet his perspective on what's going on with this defense, because I think this defense is where most of the narratives lie. Excuse me. Vic Fangio was asked a plethora of questions. He was asked a plethora of questions regarding, the CB2 competition, right? The competition at safety, what's going on at linebacker, the edge depth, so on and so forth, right? He said something that was pretty interesting to me. He said if Eli Ricks continues to make the improvements that he's seeing, he could definitely involve himself in that battle for CB2. He said, Eli, he's made improvements. Just has to be more consistent, but he's made improvements. So, nonetheless, Eli Ricks potentially may be involved in that CB2 battle. They asked him about Adoree Jackson again, and he said he's had a solid camp. He's competing well, he's focused, and he likes where he is right now. And then Kelee Ringo's name came up. He said, look, Keely's going to be a great tackler. Well, good tackler. That was the word he used, good. He said Keely's going to be a good tackler, and he doesn't think tackling will be an issue for Kelee at all. Now, granted, tackling is not what we're necessarily worried about with Kelee Ringo. We're worried about his ability to cover. We're worried about his ability to be consistent in coverage, right? We know Kelee can tackle. He's a very good special teamer. But the goal is for him to be more than that. That's the goal, clearly. And Fangio made it very clear there's no one who's definitively created a gap in training camp for that CB2 battle. Kelee Ringo hasn't done enough to separate himself. Adoree Jackson hasn't done enough to separate himself. Eli Ricks hasn't done enough to make himself a legit contender for that role, right? That CB2 spot is clearly very wide open. And as day 9 of training camp comes to an end, I ask myself, at what point should Vic Fangio start to become more confident in whatever decision he makes for CB2? And essentially that came up in the press conference. He mentioned how although, practice is important, I'm not going to get a real sense for the progress. I'm not going to get a real sense for these players until the bullets start flying or until we see them in a preseason game, right? I would tend to agree with him in that regard. You can practice how much you want. The joint practices are competitive and exciting as well. These teams clearly put a lot of stock into those. But I feel like there's nothing like live action. There's nothing like live football. I don't care if it's preseason, whatever it is, an exhibition game. There's nothing more. There's not a more definitive evaluator than a live football game when the stakes are higher, right? When your discipline and your responsibilities become that much more significant. So maybe we'll learn more about this CB2 battle once the preseason game starts, right? But both Kelee Ringo and Adoree Jackson have had up and down camps. They've both been inconsistent. That's just a fact. As much as I want Kelee Ringo to be the guy going forward, and as much as I want Kelee Ringo to be successful, that's not enough. I still got to call it how I hear it. I still got to call it how I read it. I still got to call it how I see it. Right? That's my responsibility, no matter how much I want the player to win. So, Kelee Ringo, has he done enough to separate himself? No. He hasn't. Has he done enough to make me not believe in the player anymore? No. I need to see him in a preseason game. I need to see more action. And I'm so looking forward to this game this Thursday. I am so excited for football, but I'm so excited to see these guys in live game action. I cannot wait. I cannot wait because the rotations and who remains on the field and who they took off the field is going to tell us a lot about how they view these guys, right? I think in the last preseason game last year, we saw a lot of Keely Ringo, but we didn't see a lot of Isaiah Rodgers in the final preseason game. And that wasn't a good game for the Eagles. I think they got smoked by the Vikings in that last game. But regardless, these preseason games are going to tell us way more than the practice reps are. And we're going to talk more about the training camp stuff in a little bit. I still want to get through some of Vic Fangio's presser. I still want to get through some of the things that was talked about before I get into the details about what happened on the field with Keely Ringo, Dory Jackson, and others as well. I'm going to get into that stuff, but I just want to make my way through Vic Fangio's I want to make my way through my notes as it pertains to Vic Fangio's press conference. But nonetheless, again, he's made it very clear we're not going to be able to definitively have any opinions about these guys until the bullets start flying. All right. He also mentioned Tristan McCullum, right? He was asked about that safety situation. Drew Makuba is currently, recovering from the shoulder, right? I think he was limited today. He was on the sideline. Let me make sure I got that right here. Yeah, Andrew Makuba was limited. He wasn't doing any team drills, but nonetheless, he's trending in the right direction. But will he be available for the preseason game on Thursday? That's the question, right? Because I think he needs that game under his belt. Will he be available? That all remains to be seen. But Vic Fangio was asked about Tristan McCullum, and his thoughts on Tristan McCullum was pretty encouraging. He said Tristan McCullum is very capable of playing the position. The starting safety position, that is. He doesn't see that Tristan McCullum can't do it. He clearly sees he has the talent and the skill to do it. But there are intricacies, there's nuances, there's details that Tristan McCullum has to clean up. He has to eliminate the negative plays, right? And the negative play, according to Vic Fangio, isn't always where the action is. It isn't always where the ball is. Sometimes it could be just making sure you're supposed to be. Sometimes it could just be you making sure you're where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there, right? Playing the game, executing the system, the scheme, the way Vic Fangio intended for it to be executed. So again, he acknowledges Tristan McCullum has what it takes, but he just has to clean up some negative plays and just be more consistent. And that's pretty much the same sentiment he's had towards Eli Ricks. And that's kind of the same sentiment he's had about Keely Ringo. And even Adoree Jackson. Right? He clearly sees that these guys can do it, but consistency. Consistency. That's the goal. To get to the point where you're not even thinking out there. You're just reading and reacting. Because you trust the scheme, you trust your technique, you trust your preparation that much. But again, these position battles, Sidney Brown's name came up, right? Same thing with Sidney Brown. He's gotten better all the way around. Vic Fangio doesn't mince his words. He says Sidney Brown's gotten better all the way around. Just needs to polish his game. Needs to recognize the little things quicker, right? And I think this is stuff that comes with more reps, more opportunities. Once you get into a real game and you're able to kind of, self-scout a bit better, right? When the team is actually trying to attack you and how do you adjust and the communication and so on and so forth. Yeah, there's going to be things in practice that may happen, but when the bullets start flying in real life, in the real games, then maybe we may see a different product, right? There's a strong chance we may see a different product when the game starts, right? There's a chance that a player that we've been high on in practice may not do nothing in these games. And there's a chance that there's a player who probably had his fair share of struggles in the training camp, but when the game starts, he's lights out. That's a real thing. So we'll see how it turns out. But Sidney Brown, Tristan McCullum, those are guys that are clearly still in the running for the position. Drew Makuba is a little behind because of the injury. Keely Ringo, Adoree Jackson, and Eli Ricks, Clearly, they're competing for that CB2 spot, mainly Ringo and Adoree Jackson. Eli Ricks is trying to make a push into the conversation, right? Now, getting to the edge rushers, Uche's name came up. Fangio mentioned how Uche's been flashing in camp. He's overall getting better. Ty Robinson's name came up at D tackle. Says he's picking things up at a rookie pace, which is pretty normal, pretty much to be expected, right? And Jihaad Campbell's name came up quite a few times, actually, mainly because Jihaad Campbell, as a rookie, they've been asking him to do a lot. They've been putting a lot on his plate. And they're kind of giving him the Zack Baun treatment. And what I mean is, when Zack Baun first got to the Eagles, they knew he could rush the passer. They wanted to find out how much he could take on at that inside linebacker spot. And they're doing the same thing with Jihaad Campbell. They know he can rush the passer. Sure, he probably has technical things to refine, but they know he can rush the passer. They know he can pin his ears back. Can he be disciplined as an inside linebacker? Can he read and react? Can he diagnose consistently? Can he differentiate the run from the pass? Can he not get caught in the wash of those play action situations? That's what they're trying to prepare him for. That's why they're overloading him, because Fangio was asked, do you think you guys are putting too much on his plate? And Fangio said, probably. You're probably right. But these days are disappearing. These practice days, they're few. The practices aren't as long as they used to be back in Fangio's day. There used to be a point where they had 2 a days. Practices used to last 2+ hours. You feel what I'm saying? That's not the way anymore. They don't have as much time with these players anymore. The CBA, the current CBA prevents these coaches from communicating but so much with these guys in the off season, right? There's so many stipulations, so many regulations surrounding these guys in practice. So Fangio says these days are disappearing. So yeah, maybe we are putting a lot on his plate, but it's necessary. It's intentional. Especially if they expect, if we expect Jihaad Campbell to start week 1, right? Let me get to this super chat real quick. My man S. Blunt in the building. Thank you, S. Blunt, for the super chat, my guy. I really do appreciate you. He says here, remember how people looked at Dean and Nolan last year? Very good point, S. Blunt. Nakobe Dean didn't have, at least it was being reported that he didn't have the most stellar training camp. One thing that stands out to me from last training camp is how he was struggling against Kenny Gainwell in space. And he got shook up by Kenny Gainwell a couple times. But Dean ultimately became the player that we saw during the 2024 season and the wild card round of the playoffs. And then Nolan Smith, right? Nolan Smith actually showed us pretty early what he was about. I just didn't put too much stock into it because my mindset was, all right, I feel like he should be dominating these 3s and 2s way more. Granted, I think he had a sack in every preseason game. I think he had 2 sacks through the 3 preseason games, if I'm not mistaken. I think he had 2 or 3 sacks. And then in the regular season, he had what? 6 sacks. And then in the playoffs, he had 4. So yeah, in the regular season, Nolan had 6.5 sacks. In the playoffs, he had 4. He had 10.5 sacks regular season and playoffs. And if you want to count the preseason, I think he had like 13 sacks, maybe 12.5 sacks. So Nolan kind of showed us pretty early on what he was about. We just had to believe it when we saw it. But to your point, S. Blunt, I'm not ready to sell my stock on anybody quite yet. I'm still taking this day by day, week by week. I need to see these guys in preseason action. I need to see these guys when things get critical. I'm not ready to jump ship on anybody yet, despite the fact that Ringo has had his fair share of ups and downs, just like a lot of these guys. But all eyes are on Keely Ringo for obvious reasons, nonetheless. All right, let's see here. Where are we? That's Vic Fangio's press conference. Jeremiah Trotter spoke. I got to tell you, Trotter Jr. has had a phenomenal training camp. But even beyond that, I was looking at him at the podium, and bruh, he's looking brolic. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is looking brolic. He put on some weight. He looks stronger. That grown man physique starting to take shape. Like Trotter Jr., I understand he wasn't a high draft pick. I think Trotter Jr. was drafted in the 5th round, right? 5th or 6th round. Make sure I got this right here. He was drafted in the 5th round, 155th overall in the 2024 NFL draft, right? And expectations aren't the highest when you're drafted that late. But if you could play, you could play. And so far, Trotter Jr. has not made it easy for Jihaad Campbell, in my humble opinion. Based on what I've been reading, based on what I've been hearing, Trotter Jr. is giving these coaches a hard way to go, giving Jihaad Campbell a hard way to go, making it a tough decision. Because we all know Jihaad Campbell's ceiling is probably higher because of the size, the raw athleticism, right? But if Jihaad Campbell, but if Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is the one that's most prepared, is the one that truly understands where he's supposed to be, then maybe he belongs on the field. But we'll see. We will see. There's nothing set in stone quite yet. But Jihaad Campbell and Jeremiah Trotter Jr., they have been having very, very strong camps. And I think they're giving these coaches a tough decision to make. And with Nakobe Dean being down for God knows how long, don't be surprised if you see situations where Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and Jihaad Campbell may be on the football field. Maybe you see Jihaad Campbell in a pass rush stance or, whatever it may be. But all I know is Trotter Jr., he may be undersized. He's 6 feet, 225. And Jihaad Campbell being 6'3", 244, there's a clear distinction in their build. There's a clear distinction in their archetype. But all I know is Trotter Jr., you can't say he didn't win the job because he didn't put in the work. I can say that. I can say that right now, definitively. And then Jihaad Campbell had a presser. They asked him about his development. They asked about him and his aggressiveness and how he plays the game. And young guy learning the ropes. Still trying to understand the right way to practice on the NFL level. Simple as that, man. Not really much to take from it. And he's not really feeling the pressure. He just looks at it as an opportunity. So, nonetheless, all right, let's get to the training camp observations. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Goes a long way. You guys are truly a part of this community here. So act like it. Smash that like button. Get active, y'all. Get active. Where are we? We got 117 people in the stream. We only got 46 likes. Something not adding up, you guys. Something's not adding up. You know what I mean? Over 110 people in the stream, only 49 likes. It costs nothing for you guys to hit that like button. It's really important to this YouTube space. If you don't know already, make sure you hit that like button. It's really important. All right. Let's get to some of the key training camp observations. Day 9, Monday, August 4th. Let's get to some of these observations, some key things that I want to talk about, right? There's always a lot of notes that are taken, but I like to kind of cherry pick the things that I think are pertinent, at least in my humble opinion. All right. So let's get into it. We're going to be here for about maybe another 20 to 30 minutes. So let's not waste no time, y'all. So just to give you guys a quick injury update, Zack Baun has been dealing with a back injury or some back soreness. He hasn't practiced. AJ Brown dealing with a hamstring. The Eagles have been pretty cautious with AJ Brown. They're not rushing him back at all. This is his second straight missed practice with the hamstring. Lewis Seen, safety, dealing with a hamstring. Montrell Johnson, running back, hamstring. Trevor Keegan didn't practice as well with a back injury. Terrace Marshall Jr., wide receiver, didn't practice because of a knee. And Byron Young, D tackle, didn't practice due to a groin. So if I had to take a wild guess, I think the Eagles are just being cautious with a lot of these guys. Especially Zach Baun, especially AJ Brown. Those are your money guys on both the offense and defense, respectively. You don't want to push those guys. They know what to do. They know what their job is. They understand the scheme. They understand their responsibilities. AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts' chemistry is bar none. Zach Baun, I mean, he executed the Fangio scheme to perfection in 2024. I don't expect anything less, right? As far as limited goes, the Eagles' long snapper Charlie Hewitt was limited today with a neck injury. They had to bring in an emergency long snapper. Matt McWilliams, corner, he was limited today with a quad injury. Andrew McCouba, we talked about him earlier. He was limited today because of a shoulder. Nolan Smith was limited as well with a concussion. And BVS, Ben Van Sumeren, was limited today with the ankle injury. Now, I mentioned, some guys were limited, some guys didn't practice, some guys came back, right? Jihaad Campbell was removed from the injury report list, so no longer is Jihaad Campbell limited. Jihaad Campbell is a full go, no limitations. So that shoulder supposedly is fully healed. Devontae Smith, he came back today. He was dealing with some back tightness. He had a pretty good practice today. So those guys were full participants, no longer on the injury report. And I already mentioned that this was the second missed practice by AJ Brown, right? Nolan Smith, he left practice early with the trainer due to a concussion. And the Quinyon Green also left practice earlier after vomiting on the field during offensive line drills. So maybe Quinyon Green is dealing with an illness. Maybe it was the heat. Who knows? Maybe a concussion for himself. Hasn't really been definitively stated, but nonetheless, Quinyon Green left practice early and Nolan Smith left practice early. Now let's get to some of the on-field observations, right? Let's go back to discussing Quinyon Mitchell, because Quinyon Mitchell has had a phenomenal training camp, right? I mean, he had a phenomenal rookie season, phenomenal playoffs, but he's picking up right where he left off. He's matching up with everybody. He's handling Smitty, handling AJ Brown. They're going blow for blow. He's not backing down from anybody. He's taking the ball away. He's batting the ball down. Like Quinyon Mitchell, clearly, based off all the evaluations, based off all the things I'm reading, he's clearly taking his role as CB1 very serious. Now that Darius Slay's gone, Quinyon Mitchell is the bona fide best cornerback on the Philadelphia Eagles roster, and he's taking that mantle on with pride. On top of that, they've been preparing him. They're clearly preparing him to travel. He's played both the left side and the right side. So I expect Quinyon Mitchell to line up against the best receiver on any opposing team, no matter what side of the line they're on. And I expect Quinyon Mitchell to win and I expect Quinyon Mitchell to dominate those matchups primarily. Right. But again, he's taking the ball away. He secured his second interception of training camp today. The first one came by Jalen Hurts a few days ago, I believe. And this one came by way of Tanner McKee. Here's the situation, right? What made the Quinyon Mitchell interception so impressive was that he was able to peel off of his man to jump the pass and intended for tight end Harrison Bryant. So Quinyon Mitchell was already manned up defending a whole nother guy. But he had the perception, he had the intuitiveness, the instincts to read and react to what Tanner McKee was doing, and read his eyes and peeled off of his own man and jumped the Harrison Bryant pass and intercepted it, right? Tanner McKee never saw him coming. So I think it's important to note that Quinyon, he has struggled to catch interceptions in his rookie season. He didn't start catching them into the playoffs. And even the playoff interceptions were kind of, his hands weren't locked down in those situations. So I think the next step in Quinyon's development is just the ball skills, right? Being able to secure the takeaway when you got the opportunity, because those opportunities come few and far between. And when you have a chance to flip the game or flip the field, right? When you have a chance to flip momentum, you got to be able to capitalize off of teams' mistakes. You don't want to let teams off the hook, because I've seen so many situations. We've all seen situations where a guy has a chance to end the drive with the INT, and next thing you know, he drops it, he can't secure it, and on the next play, the opposing team scores, or they get a first down, or whatever it may be. Maybe a guy gets hurt. So again, obviously, it's not fair to put that on not grabbing an INT, but it's important to note that when you got the opportunities, you got to take advantage of them, and you don't want to leave no stone unturned. Moving on from Quinyon Mitchell, I want to double back to the CB2 competition between Ringo and Adoree Jackson and possibly Eli Ricks, only because his name came up in the press conference and Fangio believes that he has a chance to put himself into that conversation put himself in the mix for that CB2 spot. But the reality about the cornerback 2 competition is that it's been very, very inconsistent. Everybody's been inconsistent. It's not just a Ringo problem. It's an Adoree Jackson problem. It's an Eli Ricks problem. All three of those guys have been relatively inconsistent at CB2. Granted, they've been going up against AJ Brown. You know, Devontae Smith is back. They've gone up against Jahan Dotson. You know, but beyond that, you know, you're dealing with Johnny Wilson, Anaya Smith, Elijah Cooper, who I like, by the way. We're going to talk more about Elijah Cooper later on. But, you know, I think after that first preseason matchup, here's my opinion. After that first preseason matchup, I think we need to start seeing someone create a gap, right? I think we need to see someone start to create distance between themselves and the opposing competitors for that CB2 spot. Be it if it's Keely Ringo, Adoree Jackson, or Eli Ricks. Somebody has to start to create space. Otherwise, don't be surprised if the Philadelphia Eagles make a move for a corner, be it free agency or trade, whatever it may be. Because as much as I want Keely to win, I want the Eagles to win much more. And if that means Keely Ringo's not the guy, it is what it is. Although I want him to win that job because I think it has more ramifications than just on the field. I think it holds ramifications for off the field. I think Keely Ringo winning that CB2 spot does so much for the Philadelphia Eagles financially in the long term because you'll have 3 corners on rookie deals. That's Quinyon, Coop, and Keely Ringo who are all starting and who can play at a relatively high level. You know, I don't want the Eagles to have to go out there and spend more money in the corner. I don't want that. I want Keely Ringo to work because he's under contract, he's cost controlled, and you can kind of dictate the terms of that situation. That's why I think it's so important for Ringo to win this job. Fair and square, by the way. Fair and square. That's why I think it's so important for Ringo to win his job because it has financial implications. And we know the Philadelphia Eagles, they have a lot of money that they need to spend. Jalen Carter's coming up, Nolan Smith, Jordan Davis. When Quinyon and Coop come up, you know, what's that going to look like as well, right? Reed Blankenship is supposed to get some money. We'll see if he gets it from the Eagles. But overall, the CB2 competition has been inconsistent. Very inconsistent. Let me get to this super chat here. Give me a second. Miss Fanny with the super chat. Thank you, Miss Fanny. She says, there's some doubt that DTR will make the roster, but I heard he has been looking better than McCord lately. Oh, yeah. The quarterback spot. Yeah, we'll see, man. It's a the QB3 battle is something I'm not really paying too much attention to, but it's relevant nonetheless. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if the Philadelphia Eagles trade DTR. Don't be surprised. That's what I'll say to that. Let's see. All right, let's get this off the screen. But yeah, let me just talk about some things that happened during practice when it comes to that CB2 competition. So let's start with Eli Ricks, right? Eli Ricks, he had a couple pass breakups on day 9 today. and he started to come on strong. Eli Ricks had a pass breakup on a deep ball to Jahan Dotson. But later on, Dotson was able to beat Ricks on the deep ball down the left sideline. And it looked like Eli Ricks just stopped running. He just stopped keeping up with the route. On top of that, you have Keely Ringo, who started the day next to Quinyon Mitchell. So far, Adoree Jackson has 5 starts in training camp, and Keely Ringo has 4 starts in training camp. In one-on-ones, Keely Ringo got called for a defensive pass interference on a rep against Darius Cooper. And Ringo also, and like on that play, he ran through the catch point and never looked back. So that's a problem. That's been a problem, right? Keely Ringo being in position, but not turning his head, not looking for the ball. You want to avoid getting called for DPI? Look for the ball. Play the ball. Don't play the body. Play the ball. Trust your instincts. Trust your feet. That's the disconnect that I'm seeing. I'm seeing a guy that's not trusting where he is. He's afraid to. I ain't gonna lie. I think Keely Ringo's afraid to get beat. That's what I think. I think he's so afraid to get beat, he's not turning his head to look at the ball. I think he's so focused on keeping his man in front of him or staying in the hip pocket of his man, he's not checking for the ball. And I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm evaluating it all. But could he be afraid to get beat? Y'all tell me. Because he's not turning his head looking for the ball. And after a certain point, you can't just have guys out there that's a liability like that. That's just the reality. Adoree Jackson, right? Adoree Jackson, he got beat by Elijah Cooks, a guy that I like, Elijah Cooks. Adoree Jackson got beat. So up and down day for him. And again, this is all one-on-ones, right? This is all one-on-ones. Now, here's the thing, right? Here's what I think is important that I don't think I mentioned. I think it's important to note that Vic Fangio spoke about this in his press conference, that he doesn't put too much stock in one-on-ones. He doesn't believe that's a fair barometer to judge a guy's skill set. That's what Vic Fangio said. I think he said that 2 press conferences ago. Not the one that just dropped today, but the one before that. Fangio mentioned he doesn't put too much stock in one-on-ones because that's not how the game is played. He doesn't. So what does that mean? What does that say? Does that mean we shouldn't be so quick to jump ship on Keely Ringo? Because a lot of these situations have been happening in one-on-ones, right? A lot of these problems have been happening in one-on-ones. And we all know wide receivers always have the advantage. Like Rich King said, wide receivers always have the advantage in one-on-ones. So, and I think that's where a lot of the criticism has come for Keely Ringo. It's been in these one-on-one situations. And if Vic Fangio says he doesn't believe it's a fair way to judge a player, I'm going to take his word for that. I'm going to take his word for it because I'm not ready to jump ship. I'm not ready to cash out at the casino. I'm still at the table right now. I'm still at the table betting on Keely Ringo. Let me get to this other super chat here. My man War, he said, Uche is surprising me, Tone, and Elijah Cooks might have a real shot at making it 53. Bro, I'm glad you said that, right? Just moving on, Josh Uche, he was able to take advantage of the rookie, Miles Hinton, with a quick inside move after getting hit into overset on the next rep. And on the next rep, Uche overpowered the rookie with a bull rush. And again, those are one-on-ones as well. Now, one-on-ones, is probably a better barometer for D lineman and O lineman. But even so, there are responsibilities. There's gap discipline. There's stunts that happen in real games. So maybe it's not a fair way to judge D lineman or O lineman either, right? But regardless, though, Uche has been having a pretty decent camp. Fangio admitted that he's been flashing. So, and I was somebody that had some questions on Uche. I was higher on Azeez Ojulari. Now, granted, we haven't heard too much about Azeez. Neither bad nor good. Could that be a good thing? Possibly. It's possible. Maybe he's just doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing. Maybe he's not making any flashy plays, but he's been disciplined. He's been where he's supposed to be. And maybe that's good enough for right now. Maybe that's good enough for right now. I don't overreact when I don't hear a guy's name. If I don't hear your name, that means you didn't do anything flashy. And it also means you weren't necessarily a liability either. That's my humble opinion about that. And Elijah Cooks, the wide receiver, I like him, man. He's starting to win me over. I got to call it what it is. I got him down on my notes as well. Elijah Cooks, he's been impressing at training camp. Elijah Cooks, 6'4", 215, a tall body with range, with reach. He's a 50-50 ball specialist. He's been impressing in camp. And I wouldn't be surprised if Elijah Cooks wins that WR4 spot, that wide receiver 4 spot, right? We know who wide receiver 1 and 2 is. We know who 3 is with Jahan Dotson, but could Elijah Cooks be ahead of Johnny Wilson and Anaya Smith? And Anaya Smith has been having a pretty good camp. The word is Anaya Smith looks more confident. He's winning more reps. Hand-eye coordination's been up there. He's been catching everything that comes his way. Only thing is he's not a big guy. He's under 6 feet. He's more of a gadget guy. He's more of a punt returner. He's more of your prototypical slot guy. He's not gonna overwhelm you physically. So his best opportunity is trying to create space so he can catch the ball in open space and make a play. But Elijah Cooks, this dude has been making plays. He's been making acrobatic plays. He's been all over the place, man. And Lord Vaughn, that's not definitive at this point. Terrence Marshall being the best 4th receiver we have, I don't think that's definitive at this point. Terrence Marshall is hurt right now, which is giving Elijah Cooks way more opportunities. Johnny Wilson, he made a play today on the deep ball, but Johnny Wilson, I don't think he's outplayed Elijah Cooks based on what I've been reading, what I've been hearing. I don't think Johnny Wilson has done enough to outplay Elijah Cooks. And Elijah Cooks has been doing enough to where Terrence Marshall shouldn't be comfortable. He should not be comfortable the way Elijah Cooks is balling right now. And to your point, Stizzy Jenkins, because Stizzy Jenkins says somebody wrote Cooks has made a play a day since camp started. And here's the thing to your point about that. Elijah Cooks said that his goal is to make a play a day. That's his goal because he says no matter what, as long as I make a play a day, eventually coaches will start to see that. Just make a play a day. Make a play a day. And you just stack those opportunities, stack those reps, and eventually coaches have no choice but to keep looking at you, and coaches have no choice but to give you an opportunity. So Elijah Cooks, that's what he's been talking about. Making a play a day, 6'4", 215. He went undrafted. Elijah Cooks, that is. He went undrafted out of San Jose State in 2023. He spent 2 seasons in Jacksonville. Didn't get much burn. But Elijah Cooks right now, I think he's 25? Make sure I got this right here. He's 26, so he's not that old. He's 26 years old. Year 3 in the NFL. Has a chance with the Philadelphia Eagles. And right now, he's been one of their best depth receivers making plays. He's made more plays than Johnny Wilson. He's had more pop than Terrace Marshall Jr. So that's pretty much how it goes. Shep with the $10 super chat. Thank you, Shep. I appreciate it. He said, Shalom, Tone. I believe that Ringo is going to have a breakout year. Keep up the good work. Go Birds. Thank you, Shep. I really do appreciate the donation. And I appreciate your kind words, my God. Thank you. But man, look, Terrace Marshall versus Elijah Cooks. Honestly, as good as that is for them, I'm looking at Johnny Wilson like, yo, brother. I know AJ Brown and Devontae are clearly the number 1 and 2 guys, but Johnny Wilson, you got to start creating some space between you and these guys, man. They drafted you, and you got Elijah Cooks coming in here, undrafted guy who's making plays left and right. Terrace Marshall Jr. when he was healthy, he was getting some good opportunities, getting some good things done. So, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We will see how it goes, but keep your eye on Elijah Cooks. All right. Let's see. Where are we? Got a couple more things I want to speak on with you guys about the defense. Some more one-on-one action. Jordan Davis was able to get past Brett Toth with a swim move and then use the push-pull move to beat him on the next rep. So Jordan Davis is looking pretty good, especially with his pass rush moves. He's been adding to his repertoire. Jordan Mailata, once again, he was able to shut down Jalen Hunt. And again, that's a tough matchup for Jalen Hunt. Mailata is a behemoth. He's a big guy, quick feet, agile, not an easy guy to beat. Nonetheless, even though Jordan Mailata was able to shut down Jalen Hunt on 1 rep, Jalen Hunt managed to come back with a powerful ball rush move to beat Mailata on one-on-ones. So Mailata is getting some good work. Is getting some good work with Jalen Hunt and vice versa. All right. That's pretty much my notes when it comes to training camp, you guys. Let me read some of your comments here. Let's see here. Excuse me, you guys. All right. Al says Andrew Makuba is too small. We fumbled that pick. Should have traded draft capital for Malachi Starks. I don't know, man. Malachi Starks went pretty early. He went pretty early, man. And Jihaad Campbell was the target for the Eagles in the first place. Clearly. Starks is with the Ravens, right? Ravens had a really good draft. Starks and Mike Green, that's a hell of a come up. Sweet Chip Music says, can't even let the dude get a snap before calling him too small. Yeah, I'm not jumping out the window. As you guys can see, I'm pretty measured with my opinion of these guys right now. I'm not ready to jump ship on anybody right now. I think it's way too early. We haven't even gone through it's August 4th. It's August 4th. But like Vic Fangio said, these days are fading away, and they're fading away quick. Excuse me. I see a lot of you guys think the Eagles should go after Stephon Gilmore. Let me look up something real quick. Let me look up the kind of season Gilmore had last year, because some of you guys be on this Gilmore train, and I'm trying to understand. All right. Okay. Stephon Gilmore played in 15 games last year. Not bad for an OG. All right. He had in 15 games had 1 INT, was targeted 84 times, gave up 52 catches. Was targeted 84 times, gave up 52 catches for a 61.9 completion percentage allowed, gave up 596 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns given up, gave up a passer rating of 94.1, which is the highest in his career. Let's see. Look, man, I don't know. Stephon Gilmore, what is he, 37? He's 34, excuse me. Damn, I thought he was older than that. He's played a lot of football. 13 years in, entering year 14, 34 years old. Damn. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not ready to go check out the bargain bin for a corner. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet at all. Sweet Chip Music says bring back Rasul Douglas. Let's look at the season Rasul Douglas had last year. Rasul Douglas, okay. Rasul Douglas. All right, in 2024, he played for Buffalo. 15 games played. Let's see. All right. 15 games played, was targeted 59 times, gave up 43 catches for 72.9 completion percentage, gave up 518 receiving yards. Okay, gave up 4 touchdowns, 122.0 passer rating. Ooh. Rasul Douglas is coming off one of his worst seasons. He's coming off one of his worst seasons. I don't know, man. Nah, I don't think Rasul Douglas is it. He had that stretch where he was killing shit with Green Bay, and Green Bay traded him to Buffalo, and that first year in Buffalo had some good things that he did, but nah, I don't know. And Asante Samuel Jr. A lot of people are high on him right now. I'm surprised he's not signed yet. That's what's funny to me. Asante Samuel Jr., 5'10", 180. How isn't he signed yet? That's mind-boggling to me. Now, granted, he's coming off of an injury season. He played 4 games. He was hurt. So he doesn't really have many stats to go off of, but 2023 was targeted 96 times, allowed 58 completions, which is a 60.4 completion percentage, gave up 766 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns, had 2 interceptions. Can't tackle. Not a good tackler, man. Not a good tackler. He missed 12 tackles in 2023. Missed 9 tackles his rookie year. Gave up a lot of touchdowns over the past 4 seasons. Hey, can't tackle, and gave up 7 touchdowns in 2022, gave up 3 in 2023, and only played in 4 games in 2024. So I think he'll land somewhere, but I mean, he's 25 years old. He's 25 years old. I'm actually shocked that he hasn't signed anywhere yet. He's 25. Like, I don't think he's done that much in his career where he can't be signed anywhere. All right, let's see here. All right. Did I miss anything? We about to get out of here soon. Make sure I ain't miss anything. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed. We got 159 people on the stream. Let me read some of these comments, y'all. Squad Music says, y'all sleeping on Pick Six Ricks. I have him over Ringo. Should have kept Rodgers. He was already in the building. He knows the system. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Ray Bailey said, dude is not his pops. Well, Asante Samuel Jr. wasn't known for Asante Samuel Sr. wasn't known for his tackling either. So Born Croy says, if Dallas wants 3 first and Nolan Smith for Parsons, would you do it? No. You're not getting 3 first out of me. No, it's not happening. You're not getting 3 first round picks from me. You're not. You're not getting a 3 first round. Like, that's crazy. 3 first round picks. Listen, I know Micah's a great football player. No. You give that up for a franchise quarterback or some shit. You don't give that up for Micah Parsons. No. It's so funny, right? I was talking to some Cowboys fans today. Man. And they are pissed. Remember, I live in Texas. So I see firsthand how this Micah Parsons news is affecting the people. And I was talking to 3 Cowboys fans, 2 to be specific. They're not happy. They're not happy with the way Jerry Jones has been moving. They're not happy with the way he does business. They're not happy with the amount of money that Jerry's been paying and not getting the results. They are not feeling this at all. And honestly, you know what they said? And I think a lot of y'all already feel this way, but they said this. And I didn't think look. Every time I hear Eagles fans say what I'm about to say, I always just take it for nonsense, right? But when I heard the Cowboys fans say it down here where I'm at, I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is a real thing. And apparently, the Cowboys fans that I spoke to, they believe Micah Parsons, 1, is serious about his trade requests, and 2, wants to be a Philadelphia Eagle. That's what that's what Cowboys fans are saying down here. Granted, I only spoke to a few of them down here today. But they believe they're under the impression that Micah Parsons wants to be a Philadelphia Eagle. And they're basing that off of how he's conducted himself as a Cowboy. They think he wants to be a Philadelphia Eagle. Now, I don't know how much I'm buying at, but it was just interesting. It was just interesting to hear Cowboys fans say it themselves. That's all. It was just fascinating to me. That's all. But 3 first for Nolan Smith. 3 first and Nolan Smith for Micah Parsons. I'm not fucking doing that. Sorry, excuse my French, but we're not doing that. Al says we don't want that loser though. Sweet Chin Music says he might be serious about leaving because he's been disrespected. He says, I'm not sure about the Eagles part though. Fair enough. Yeah, I'm not putting too much stock in it either. Don't get me wrong. I'm not putting too much stock into that whole Micah Parsons to the Eagles thing at all. I don't take that part serious at all. But I do think the trade request is serious. I do think Micah Parsons is tired of Jerry Jones talking crazy. I think he is tired of Jerry Jones disrespecting his representation. I also think Jerry Jones is tired of shelling out all this money and not being able to even sniff a conference championship. They haven't seen the conference championship in 30 years, in 29 years. Like, I understand the frustration from Cowboys fans, but I also understand that Jerry Jones been putting out a lot of money and they haven't gotten the results. They've gone through coach after coach. They've gone through Wade Phillips, Jason Garrett, Mike McCarthy, and now Schottenheimer. Like, dog, if Mike McCarthy couldn't get it done, what make you think Schottenheimer's gonna get it done? I'm sorry, Schottenheimer is just a tool. He's a figurehead. Schottenheimer ain't pulling no strings. He ain't pulling no strings. Sweet Chin Music says he's also overpaying. He is. He's overpaying like crazy. That's another problem that Jerry Jones has. He for some reason he plays around with the financials and he doesn't pay these guys early enough. Hence why they're always overpaying. Hence why they're always paying well above the market rate. The same thing goes for the Bengals. There's no reason Jamar Chase should be making $40 million when the next closest guy is making 35. There's no reason Dak Prescott should be making $60 million when the next closest guy is making 55. You're paying these guys $5 million over the market rate. And that's just the top guy. It's bad business. It's just bad business. And too much ego instead of just focusing on what matters. And that is drafting, developing, and paying. You draft a guy because you believe in a guy. Once you develop that guy, you pay that guy. Simple as that. Howie Roseman makes this stuff look so easy, but the Cowboys make it look so difficult. But I don't blame them for being difficult. It's hard to get things done when your quarterback has a cap hit that costs more than Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith combined. It's hard to get stuff done. Let's call it what it is. It's hard to get things done and build a roster the way you want to when your quarterback has a cap hit that supersedes Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith combined. Look it up, y'all. Look it up. Look it up. Matter of fact, I'll show you. I could show you better than I could tell you. Check this out. Look at that. Darren Orlovsky of ESPN tweeted this today. He said, here's the cap hit for this season. Dak Prescott has a $50.5 million cap hit. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith carry a $46.9 million cap hit in 2025. Some guys are playing chess. Others are playing checkers. Say what you want about Jalen Hurts. Say what you want about A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Say what you want about the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles do good business. They do good business. They draft, they develop, and they pay. And they pay guys that they believe are great. They pay guys that they believe are high character. And they don't got to worry about the money or getting their return on the investment. If you ask me, I don't think Jalen Hurts is overpaid at all. The first $50 million quarterback to win a Super Bowl, I don't think he's overpaid at all. Not in the slightest. I don't think he's overpaid in the slightest. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, they made good on their investment. They made good on it. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith got paid. Jalen Hurts got paid. You know what they did? They said, let's go win the Super Bowl, y'all. And they did just that. A.J. Brown gets traded to the Eagles. You know what he does? 3 All-Pro seasons. Come on, man. Come on. I don't care what nobody say about Jalen Hurts. It don't matter. It don't matter. At the end of the day, it don't matter because this brother has made good on the investment. When these owners cut these checks, I promise you, they're not thinking about your stats. They're not thinking about fantasy football. They're thinking about wins. These owners are paying for wins. They're not paying for your personal accolades. They're not paying for MVPs. They're not paying for offensive player of the years. They're paying for wins. When they invest all this money into their project, they're paying for wins. They're paying for playoff wins, playoff appearances. They're paying for Super Bowls. They're not paying for guys to hit their own personal best. They're not. So when you think about what the Cowboys are paying Dak Prescott this year as far as the cap hit goes, and then you think about what the Eagles are paying Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith combined, like Dan Orlovsky said, the unserious versus the serious. The Eagles take this thing serious. The Cowboys, not so much. And that's not me talking shit. That's not even my Eagles brain talking. That's just, as a football fan, the Cowboys are not a serious organization. They're not serious. That's like, forget the beef. Forget the NFC East rivalries. Forget it. I'm not even talking about that. Objectively speaking, the Dallas Cowboys are an unserious organization. And you see it show up time and time again. They care more about the theater than they do the actual results. Sorry. My man S. Blunt, thank you, man. He's back again. He says, Tone, we want the Cowboys to pay Dak, Lamb, and Micah above market. They will remain status quo. We have zero problems with this. No, you're right. As an Eagles fan, I want them to keep doing what they're doing. As an Eagles fan, I want them to keep screwing up. I want that. Don't get me wrong, brother. As an Eagles fan, I want them to keep screwing up. But as a football spectator, as a person who loves seeing good football and loves witnessing greatness and loves seeing competent GMs and owners get things done, it's a disgrace what the Cowboys have become. It's honestly a disgrace what they've become. As far as I'm concerned, they're just a brand at this point. If it wasn't for branding, the Cowboys would be the Bengals. If it wasn't for branding, they would be the Bengals. And then the Commanders, they playing around with Terry McLaurin. Now, granted, the Commanders, I think the Commanders they stand on better footing than the Cowboys. But for the Commanders to be playing hardball with Scary Terry is nuts to me. It's ridiculous. They keep playing. And look, both Terry and Micah, they both put in trade requests respectively. Look, we all know it's part of the negotiation tactic, but it shouldn't even have to come to this point. It shouldn't have to come to this point. We've seen the Philadelphia Eagles ink massive contract after massive contract, and not once has it been beef or issues. The closest thing we got to issues when it comes to contract talks was probably Hassan Reddick. And you know what the Eagles did? They shipped his ass out quick in a hurry. They didn't waste no time. They got his ass out of the building because they knew they wasn't going to pay him, and they didn't waste no time. They didn't waste no time playing themselves. They didn't waste the players' time. They knew they wasn't going to extend them past that first contract, and they moved on. They didn't let it linger into training camp. It's just that simple. Private McClunky says, if I was Jerry, I'm not paying someone $40 million for one playoff sack. F the regular season numbers. Hey, Private McClunky, now you talking. Now you talking. Like, it's crazy how when the playoffs start, it doesn't matter what side of the ball it is. One of them are going to fold. One of them are going to choke. If it's the defense or the offense, take your pick. The Cowboys, don't expect much in the playoffs. And then Micah Parsons in the playoffs. Is it true he only has one playoff sack? Now, granted, Micah has 4 Pro Bowls, 2-time first-team All-Pro, has a second-team All-Pro under his belt as well, Defensive Rookie of the Year, had coming off of a 12-sack season, played in 13 games with 12 sacks. Jeez. If he would have stayed healthy, he probably would have had 20 sacks, maybe 17, 18 sacks. But Micah Parsons has played in 4 playoff games and only has 1 playoff sack, has 3 TFLs and 4 quarterback hits and 3 pass deflections and 18 tackles. For someone of Micah's caliber, I expect more production. I expect more production. Nolan Smith got 4 sacks in 1 playoff run. Micah Parsons has 1 sack in 4 playoff games in his career. Not good enough. Not good enough. And y'all know Micah looking for that Myles Garrett money. He's looking for that Max Crosby money. We'll see how that go. Sweet Chip Music says Josh Harris spent too much money on Paul George, I guess. John James says, great program. Thank you, John. I appreciate you. Thank you, man. Tiffany Dark Chocolate says, Jalen Hurts is him. You already know. Let's see where we at. Stizzy says, meanwhile, Smith got 1 a game in the playoffs. Yeah, I think Nolan got I think he actually got 2 in one of those games. I think he got 2 in the Green Bay game. And then he got one in the Rams game and 1 in the conference championship against the Commanders. Let me see something real quick. Let's see. All right, so yeah. Nolan got 2 sacks against Green Bay. He got 1 against the Rams, 1 against Washington, and he didn't get one against Kansas City. But he did get 2 quarterback hits against Kansas City. 2 quarterback hits. But he also was dealing with an injury. He tore his tricep, remember? So he couldn't really do as much as he wanted to. But Nolan, 4 sacks in the playoffs, 2 in the wild card, 1 in the divisional, 1 in the conference championship game. Oh, yeah, for sure. Got to give credit where credit's due. And also his snap count drastically decreased in the Super Bowl because of the injury, because they were blowing him out. So, yeah. All right. Let's see here. Fanny says, when it comes to Micah Parsons' production, she says Micah's numbers are high during the regular season because they play non-winning teams. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to beat up on bad teams, right? That's what the Cowboys are known for these days anyway, beating up on bad teams. All right, you guys, we're going to begin to close the show out. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys for locking in on the content. Let's see where we are with that like button. We got 148 people watching, only 98 likes. Come on, you guys, smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. More content on the way. That preseason game is Thursday. We're gonna be previewing that throughout the week. We're going to be discussing players that we want to see, what we're going to be looking for, expectations, what we think the rotations may be, so on and so forth. And then after that first preseason game, we're going to start to make our very first 53-man roster. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make our very first 53-man roster. Okay? So make sure you guys stay active. We'll be putting out some more content tomorrow. We're going to be live streaming tomorrow. And again, man, the season is in full effect. It's in full effect, man. We are here. Football is back. Football is back. And it's straight like that. I've been your humble host, Tone DeShields II. And you guys have been locked in on Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game.